Hi everyone, hope you're having a great day. Today I'm bringing you this project. It's one of my very favorite, and I know I say that about every project, but this one is particularly fun. I made it for my sweet little baby niece using the colors from her nursery, and it's simple and easy, and it's a beginner level project. You can download the PDF from my website, the Dotting Center on Etsy, and transfer it using transfer paper onto your canvas. This will give you guidelines so that you can add your own dots and your own colors and make it your own. So let's get started. Now, like I said, I was matching colors from my niece's nursery, so I had a bunch of different colors that I had to hit, and so I have some from BLICK, DecoArt, Golden, and FolkArt. Now, this pattern is open for interpretation, so whatever colors you like, you can use. I used a 6-inch canvas, and I used these dotting rods, and I used a set of stylus tools. These are very important. Now, optional but awesome is a set of silicone dotting tools. This has stylus and silicone tools on the top. So these are a double bonus. Very nice. But like I said, optional. And I also used this transfer pattern, which of course I offer as a cheap digital download, instant download from my Etsy store, the Dotting Center. All the links are below. And to transfer it to a canvas, it's really important to use graphite paper. Use white graphite paper. You can use Surreal or Master's Touch. Either one works. Surreal comes in all these different colors, but I like the white because I tend to use dark backgrounds a lot. So here we have a 6-inch canvas painted black, and from the pattern I find the size that's going to fit my canvas, which is right around a 5.5-inch butterfly, and cut it out, cut it to size, and then what I want to do is center it. So I just have my handy dandy stencil right here. This will show me center real easily, or you could use a ruler and just draw an X from corner to corner, just like this, and that'll find your center. So then I want to find the center of my butterfly, which is probably right about there, and then I poke a hole so that I can see that the center is center on my butterfly. Now I want to tape it in place just on the top. And then using this Master's Touch white graphite paper, I'm going to transfer that design to the canvas. So you cut it to the size that you need, place it underneath your design, and then make sure that you have the transfer side down. Why, you ask? Well, there's why. Yeah, so thanks to the magical, fantastical art of movie making, I have traced this design and transferred it to the canvas without you having to watch me trace the entire thing. So there it is. So one thing I want to do is lighten up the background just a little bit. Now the colors that I'm using are for my niece's nursery. This is for my little baby niece. And she has a very specific color palette in her nursery, so I wanted to match her sheets and her drapes and, you know, everything else. So okay, so now that that's dry, I'm going to come in with FolkArt Color Shift Green and do those first few dots on the butterfly's body. Now using bright red and my stylus tool, I'm just going to fill in those inside wing shapes using bright red and just filling in all of the negative spaces in between those wings. So for this top shape, I'm using the same color red. I'm just adding a tiny bit of white for each successive dot as it goes down that shape. Just makes a lighter and lighter pink shade as it goes inward on those wings. So really this pattern is for the guidelines, and it's specifically created for daughters who, if you want to get to know your tools, this is a really great way to get to know what size dots you can get within those shapes. So you can, if I told you what tools that I was using in this video, depending on what paint you use and how much pressure you apply to your tool, you could get a completely different size dot than I do. So really what this pattern does is it gives you these shapes that can be fitted with dots using basically a set of rods and a set of stylus tools, and that's it. So there's a lot of tapered shapes, and that's great for walking the dots because as you see here, you use a big rod for that outer section, the largest dot, and then you just kind of taper the size down as you go inward like that. Okay, so up until this point, we've done nothing but dots. So right now, we're about to switch it up and do our first swooshes of the design. And here you can see I'm using that FolkArt Color Shift Pink Flash for these little swoosh shapes up in the top. So basically, you want to load up your tool with paint. You kind of hang out at the fat side and then you drag along the canvas until you get, hey, whoa, you get that kind of shape. All right, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of pink right at the inside of those three drop shapes. And you got to watch this FolkArt Color Shift paint because it's stringy, and that's okay. But if you're not expecting it, you'll get little strings as you pull your tool up. So you just want to watch that. So here is a really good vantage point for checking out what this paint does, how it has this string that pops up as you use it. It's an interesting characteristic. So here I'm just using this green to fill in all of these negative spaces in between the shapes. And obviously you start with the largest dot, so the biggest section. What's going on with the camera? Holy moly, videographer. Honestly, it's the amateur hour. What? How do people know how to paint and film painting? That's what I want to know. It's two different skill sets, I feel. So I'm hiring if anyone's interested. I'm just kidding. I can't afford that. So while this is playing, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about a book that I'm reading. I'm super excited about it. It's called An Absorbing Errand: How Artists and Craftsmen Make Their Way to Mastery. And it's by Jana Malamud Smith. It is one of those books about creativity and the creative process that is easily in my top 5 books about the process of art making. This book is just well researched, well written. The writer is a writer's writer. I mean, she uses $10 words, and I'm adding to my lexicon as I read this book all these beautiful and, big words. And she pulls from historical references of artists and writers and musicians from all different times. It's just an eloquent and valuable resource for describing the process. The art process can be very frustrating and hard at times. It's challenging, and some people just give up because it's too difficult. But there's a compulsion to keep going and doing this work, even if you're not getting any credit and not selling your work. There's something that drives us to keep creating, and the feel of making art, like going within yourself to get out of yourself, and turning off that like monkey chatter mind and just getting into some kind of absorbing errand it's a state that is something special. And as artists, we should absolutely encourage it and I think foster it, make time for it, make it a habit. And I totally believe it, and that's why I want to share what my passion is, which is obviously dotting, and help inspire others to maybe pick it up, because I think it is a worthwhile endeavor. So do you guys read books about the creative process? I find it so interesting. I love books like that. Like, some of my favorites are The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, Art and Fear is a good one. I'm trying to think. There are some that I read and reread. But yeah, do you guys have any books about creativity that you would like to share? I am always about finding new books to read about that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you have a book to share with the rest of us, add it in the comments below. I'd love to have a new read. So of the entire painting, this bottom section was my very favorite part to paint. There's something really enjoyable about painting these swoosh shapes down at the bottom. It's visually interesting and it's fun for the painter because you get to work with paint in a different way than you would with just using dots. So for the outer edges, I wanted kind of a lacy look. So I used Golden's Pearl White. I think that's what it's called, Iridescent Pearl. And I created these little dainty lacy edges, and I think that added a little bit of girliness to the edge. I hope it did. And yeah, I think it's a really beautiful paint. It has really fine particles. It's not like a gaudy, you know, sometimes metallic and iridescent paints, if the particle size is too big, it can look cheesy or just too much. This is not that kind of paint. It's just, it looks like pearls when you make them. Very pretty. So here you'll notice I switched to a pointed silicone tool, and I'll tell you the main difference between pointed silicone tools and a stylus. So basically you can load up these tools and walk the dots for a longer distance than you could using a stylus tool. So the difference here, what I think is happening is you have more surface area on the tip of this silicone tool than you do on the little ball end of your stylus tool. And that allows more paint to get distributed as you use the tool. So you end up getting more dots per dip, if you will. And depending on how fast you make your dots, you can make them all the same size, or you can make them decrease in size as you go. So plus they have a super cool bouncy feel to them. It's just my whole dotting world has opened up quite dramatically since I've used these tools, and I really love them. So if you're interested, I sell them at the Dotting Center. Plug! Okay, so now everything is dry and we're going to go in and add some top dots. So this is a good time to kind of step away and look at your project, see if there are any sections that need to be unified. You can use colors to bring sections together, or if things are looking a little too boring, you can use contrasting colors to create vibrance. And this is a really fun part because things start to come together and it moves out of like the in-between phase and you start to work on more of the finishing, which depending on how you work, I used to not be a very good finisher. And I found that adding this into my creative process, making this a goal of mine to really finish strong, it's helped my work really dramatically. So here what I decided to do, this was for a little precious baby girl's room, and so it was looking a little dark. So in order to lighten up that background, what I did was I added a wash of that pink flash, and this paint kind of comes alive when it's on a dark background. You can really see the pink and the blue, the different color variations in this paint when it's on a black background, and I actually really like that textured look. It's not 100% opaque, and depending on the thickness of the paint, it'll show brush strokes, and I think it just adds an interesting background. So there's kind of a contrast here between the precision and high detail of the dot work with this distressed textured background. And I really like how they play with each other. There's like a contrast in technique, and contrast is always good. I always look for ways to add contrast, and this was an interesting way to do it for this project. So I thought things were looking a little too boring up top here, so I went ahead and used contrasting colors to make these dots a little bit more vibrant and a little less boring. And I think it added a lot to the piece. So check out this silicone tool action. See how easy that is? You can just erase little boo-boos like that very easily. And then with my stylus tool, I went over these dots one more time just right on top of the existing dots to make them pop out. So here we are at the end of this painting. This was a cute one. I really loved making it, and I hope my niece likes it. I think she will, as soon as she's old enough to like things. Right now she's still a baby, but these things take time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really want to thank you all for your support and kind words. It's been so much fun virtually meeting all of you artists that like to dot as much as I do. I also really look forward to some art book suggestions from you all, so share in the comments because I love a good art read. If you like videos like these and you want to see more, please just let me know by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with your buddies. That helps me get psyched and inspired to keep making videos. If you want to make this butterfly painting, meet me at the Dotting Center on Etsy to download this PDF pattern for your next project. All the links are in the description box below. Thanks again for watching. I hope you get a chance to paint today because it's good for you. So keep dotting and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great week, guys.